In the modern NFL, power doesn't just live on the field. It thrives in the shadows, behind the closed doors, guarded by billion-dollar egos. John Gruden, the fiery coach, Super Bowl winner and football lifer, a man whose passion for the game turned as hot as his temper. This is Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, the ultimate power broker, smooth, disciplined, untouchable. In 2021, those two worlds collided. Private emails leaked, a career imploded, and a league that preaches integrity found itself accused of corruption. What began as a scandal has become a war, one man against the shield, a war for truth, reputation, and redemption. This is John Gruden versus Roger Goodell, the lawsuit the NFL never wanted you to see. From 2011 to 2018, while working as an on-air analyst for ESPN, John Gruden sent a series of emails to former Washington Commanders franchise executive Bruce Allen. These emails included misogynist, homophobic, and transphobic language. The NFL obtained these emails during its investigation into the Washington team's workplace culture. October 2021. These email leaks were then reported by major media outlets such as the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. John Gruden was then forced out of his job as a head coach in his second stint with the Las Vegas Raiders amid the fallout. So let me bring everybody up to speed just to give you a little bit of background. We all know who John Gruden is, and some of you may know who Bruce Allen is. But for those that don't, Bruce Allen and John Gruden were partially responsible, or damn near probably heavily responsible, for the resurgence of the Raiders at the beginning of the new millennium. And some of you guys are pretty young that's watching this video, and you know the Raiders as perennial losers. But back in the day, in the 70s and the 80s, and even somewhat in the 90s, that's kind of a give or take. But in the early 2000s, the Raiders were the team, one of the major Super Bowl contenders in the NFL, and John Gruden combed the sidelines for the Oakland Raiders as his head coach. And Bruce Allen actually worked as the general manager, or one of the general managers for the Raiders. So he was responsible for signing Rich Gannon and Jerry Rice and Charlie Garner and Rod Woodson, all those players who at that point in their career were nearing the end of their careers, but they were true, tried, and tested. And this is how they forged their relationship together. And so circa over a decade after Gruden is terminated from his second head coaching job with the Tampa Bay Bucks simply because he can't pick draft picks to save his life. And he's a great coach, but just a horrible general manager. A lot of his general manager moves just didn't pan out, and the team started losing, and they would just perform below expectations. And the Glazer family fired John Gruden, ironically, after the Raiders. Yes, the Raiders are with Carson Palmer and Michael Bush at running back, and Darren McFadden, I believe. They beat him in Tampa, and it was a competitive game, a great game. But the Raiders actually came out, smacked Tampa in the mouth, and Gruden was let go. And then a year after that, he was hired on as an on-air personality or an online analyst for Monday Night Football for ESPN after they had grabbed that package. So I just want to give you guys some background on that. Now, this is what I think happened, and this is just a theory. I believe that obviously somebody from within the Washington Commander and the Washington football team, whatever you want to call it nowadays, they're the Redskins to me, but somebody leaked that email. Somebody had a vendetta or a grudge and just didn't like John Gruden. I do not believe it was Bruce Allen. It could have been somebody from IT. Obviously, IT, anything you do on a corporate network is monitored, and that includes emails. And emails do not spoil. They do not go away. They are not just when you hit delete and put it into the trash bin, the virtual trash bin. That stuff doesn't go away. And so somebody with heavy access or privy um, to how to obtain those emails or to read those emails saw that, and they probably had somebody from within the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, or sold that information, and now we are here. So let's fast forward to May of 2022 and also in 2024, because within a 2-year span, there were two major events that happened within the lineage of this ongoing saga, this ongoing war between Goodell and Gruden. A Nevada state judge in Las Vegas rejected the NFL's motion to dismiss Gruden's lawsuit outright or force it into arbitration, and get this part, overseen by Roger Goodell. Then in 2024, at one point, a 3-judge panel of the Nevada Supreme Court ruled in favor of sending the case to arbitration. Later that year, the case was scheduled for a full hearing of the Nevada Supreme Court. And let me say this, I believe it's a conflict of interest, because you cannot be the commissioner and also be the arbitrator at the same time. See, this is what I believe to be called or is a case of abuse of power, where you have somebody trying to control the narrative. And I'm going to tell you why Roger Goodell is so convinced or so embattled and just so hell-bent on, if he has to jump on that sword and down that sword or down that hill, is because he does not want those emails to get out. And I want you to think about it for a second, to bring another thing into light, and something that's happened in the past in another professional league that's ultra popular, and that's the NBA. If you recall, some years ago, Donald Sterling, the former owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, he had a mistress, and that mistress had leaked a tape of him saying some very disparaging, repulsive things about, basically about black people. He felt some type of way about it, and you got to realize the majority of the league, or at least of the NBA, is what? Black. They're just black. And it created a huge shitstorm, and that forced Donald Sterling, he had to sell his team, because people were no longer going to attend the Clippers games. They were not going to put up with that. LeBron and all these other players rallied around each other, and they just basically said that, hey, this guy has to go. And because they had the staying power, they had the star power, guess what? Donald Sterling had to sell his team. Now, don't go crying for Donald, because Donald's made majority of his money through real estate investing well before he became the owner. And he just wanted just I guess, as a hobby, to own a team. I guess that's what billionaires do. Hey, I want to own a professional team, and that's what he did. And so let's circle back to the NFL. You have the same context. You have the same scenario where you have somebody saying things that's disparaging against people that basically are the majority of the employee or the product that's on the field, right? And I believe in being all inclusive, without a doubt, and being as diverse as possible. But you got to think about it. Imagine if some emails got out about, let's say, if there was communication between owner X and owner Z, and they said all these disparaging things. Imagine the shitstorm that would be caused, simply because people are going to not want to pay for their personal seat licenses. They're not going to want to buy any retail merchandise. Think about Fanatics, who's owned by Michael Rubin. Just think about that. It's a trickle down effect. And so Goodell is protecting a brand, and he is hell bent on protecting that brand. And he is just gonna try to make sure that those emails do not get out. So we fast forward yet again to August 11th of this year. So the Nevada Supreme Court ruled 5-2 that the NFL's arbitration clause did not apply to John Gruden as a former employee. And I think that makes sense from a legal standpoint. How can you go to arbitration with an ex-employee? He's not part of your company or your corporation anymore. So why are you trying to push it to arbitration? Of course, he doesn't want to push it, or he doesn't want it to go to civil court, because again, what do you have? Depositions. Then if you go to have a civil trial, guess what's going to get released? All of those emails, and the majority of the most insensitive and inflammatory emails, will be released. And guess who's going to report it? The New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, your local news channel, and Paducah, Kentucky. They're all going to announce that type of stuff, or the content that's in those emails. And I can guarantee you, people will have bonfires and burn jerseys and will burn football memorabilia. People will no longer want to go to NFL games. And remember, billion-dollar stadiums, or multi-billion-dollar stadiums are being built as we speak. You know, I mean, it makes it. The Bears are getting an indoor stadium. The Browns are getting an indoor stadium. How crazy is that? So much for home field advantage by way of the elements. But staying on track to this particular subject, right? That Roger Goodell wants to be the arbitrator, or wants it to stay in arbitration, and does not want it to go to civil court. So the August 11th ruling of 5-2 simply means that John Gruden's case can proceed in public civil court rather than private arbitration. That is a huge win in the battle, in a war, but it's a battle, and it's a major battle. And this is almost like I'm going to use this in loose context, like the Battle of Gettysburg, where the Union captured Gettysburg, and that was a major turning point in the Civil War many years ago, right? But I'm gonna get off of that part. But I just wanted to use that kind of for context, or just as an analogy, that this is a major win for his legal team. John Gruden wants to coach again, and he wants to coach again at the professional level. He flirted with going back to, or going to the to college, or going to the NCAA. He is not a good match in the NCAA. He's just not. And with the NIL, it's going to almost be like pro football, but it's not going to be the same. It's almost like wanting to date, or wanting to rekindle with this hot chick that you used to go out with, and you're not over her, and you want to get a second shot at her, right? And she may be a little older, have a little more weight on her, but you don't care. You just want a shot at her, and you're hell bent on that. And that's what John Gruden is vying for. And you know what? I think he got a lot closer. Now, I will say this, that October the 2nd, the league's petitioning for rehearing yet again was unanimously rejected 7-0 by the Nevada Supreme Court. So the next major update will be on November the 24th of this year. And, you know, I just think that we're now at a point in society where there has to be personal accountability as well as professional accountability. And I believe that we all have two versions of ourselves. Now, you could be yourself at home and say all the things that you want to say. And I don't have any issue with that. I don't see a problem with that at all. I don't. But it's when you go into a corporate setting and you're on corporate devices and you're doing all this stuff and saying all these things, and then you have this level of comfort in saying it because you realize that, or you think that, hey, I'm secure, that would never happen. I never get caught on a hot mic. This will never happen. They won't see this, they won't see that, and then you leave it. And so chances are there's always going to be somebody that feels some type of way about even if it's something insignificant, or what you deem to be insignificant. You piss the wrong person off, guess what? Some things can happen to you, and they can derail your career. And that's what happened with John Gruden. Somebody didn't like him, still doesn't like him, and they decided to say, hey, I'm going to stick it to you. I'm going to show you that you're not big and bad like you think you are, and I'm going to expose you for who you are. Now, what do I think? I think that John Gruden, more than likely, is going to coach again in the NFL. I don't know if it's going to be 2 years or 7 years or 8 years, but John Gruden at some point will become a coach again in the NFL. And I'm going to tell you where he's going to go with. I believe he's going to go back to the Raiders. And this is why you see Mark Davis doing the stuff that he's doing, hiring Pete Carroll, who's like damn near 75 years old, that just don't have much time in terms of coaching. He's not a long-term solution. And you sign Geno to over $85 million, basically doing the most absurd and just head-scratching stuff. He's just stalling and buying time because he realizes that at some point, Gruden's going to be available, and then guess what's going to happen? John Gruden will be back for a third unprecedented stint for the now Las Vegas Raiders. So let me know what y'all think. Let's engage in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Again, I'm just kicking this channel back up. I need y'all support, especially for videos like this. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. And I'm appreciative if you look, even if you don't subscribe, but at least look at it and hear me out. And I'll see y'all on the next video. I'm out.